Gimbo should tell us in the private chat if people can hear us, people can see us, as people are there. Okay, we don't have anyone yet. How's your Sunday been?
Very hot. And I was tired, so I tried to sleep a bit, you know, just
It's a
to
lot.
revive. It is too much, too much. Ke kgathetse jara, I fail, man. I can't keep up anymore. I
You're doing
can't.
quite.
Yeah? Ah, shame network. Yeah, how?
I hope it's gonna keep up because we have load
Shame.
shedding.
Oh,
Am I
yeah.
back?
Skis. Yeah, you
Two
are.
people
You are.
are on. Hey guys. We do have some signal issues, but I'm hoping that we are okay. Please say hi in the chat if you can hear us. Say hi, Esther, can hear your voice, and tell us if.
Hi, everyone.
Am I still okay? We have 6 people on. Good evening, everybody. Happy Sunday. There's just been a very weird signal this past week, whether it's Wi-Fi or normal data. I think it's the whole load shedding interruptions as well that are causing the signal issues. So yeah, we're gonna just wait a bit for people to hop on. I don't have music for you guys. Hello, Itumeleng. Are we audible? Oh, awesome. Nonguleka says she can hear us. Can't wait to have you guys on here. I look forward to also hosting you guys on here. We have 7 people. Good evening, everybody. My name is Gaopalelwe Phalaetsile. I know it's a tongue twister. A lot of people get very hectic around my name, but if you're a riser, you can call me Gao. I'm giving you permission as a riser to call me Gao. Just a disclaimer, I'm a mom. It's a Sunday evening, so at any point my kids will come say hi. I hope you guys will not be annoyed by having my children around. Also at Rise, we love children.
We do. We
And
do.
love children. So I hope this is not gonna be one of those evenings where you guys are like, oh, take the kids away. But I have a person over here who also look after them. I am so excited for tonight. I'm so excited to host Esther. I think once I joined Rise, I'm the digital campaigns manager, meaning I lead the team that does your social media. I lead the team that does your content creations, the videos that you see, the content that you see on here. And I think when I joined Rise, I just started getting the ground hitting, and I didn't really get to know people on a
Yeah.
personal basis. And I think I didn't want to chat to Esther before today because I really wanted it to be a conversation where I also get to know her. Look at how she's laughing, this powerhouse of a woman. So yeah, I'm hosting Esther and I'm so excited, and I'm so excited to have you here. I want questions as we speak. Don't feel you have to wait until the end to ask a question or say something. And yeah, Esther used to be the national coordinator of RISE
Yeah.
Mzansi, and and now you are just an NLC member. Not just, you're an NLC member. It's a very big position. You're in the
Yeah.
National Leadership Collective. So welcome to Fireside Chats, everybody. This is where we talk to RISE leaders, and we're gonna expand this conversation as time goes on and speak to, everybody behind RISE Mzansi. And I think we're gonna start with Esther. We're gonna start with Tebogo always starts with the names, and I thought I'd take his lead. Who are you named after? How did the name Esther come about? Do you have any other names?
Okay, so good evening, everyone. As people know, Shoba Fetu is the Kasi girl here, Esther Padi. I have another name. My name is Tsakani. I don't know how I got that name, but Esther Tsakani Padi. But Esther has always been the name, and Rhoda, when we are still at school, yeah, they prefer using English names. I don't know. Maybe that's why it got stuck. but once baka Esther. But there was a point in my life where I was really into music and I wanted to venture to be a DJ. So I turned my name and I called myself DJ Estiro. So only the people who are close to me understand what that means. But
Your
yeah, I'm
whole
not named
life
after
now,
any.
you're Estiro. You are Estiro for the rest of the night.
I born, I guess but feel free, feel free. But yeah, I was not named after anyone. I've always said my journey as a spiritual journey. So as I grew up, because growing up, I kind of did not like the name, honestly. It was too English, it was too old. And I did not have much of my peers who have the same name. So as I grew up and matured spiritually, I started to Google my name and I fell in love with it because it want to that I am. So if you Google, it's called Esther means a star, but the spiritual story behind it means courage and fighting for justice. So
Wow.
that's what I have been doing all my life. Unaware and being aware. I don't know.
Wow. So,
That's
guys, just to say, you are sitting with Gaopalelwe and courage. Like, if this is not me tonight, I don't know what is. Like, something is brewing here that is so beautiful because both our names are so powerful. And I think, African names, we always try to be, and I think, not to sound cliche, I think you exude
sorry, I do what? Mm, your
Am I,
network is gone again.
am I
Sorry.
back?
Yes, you
Am
are
I
back.
back?
You can start.
Guys, we are
Yeah,
so
I
sorry
can
for
hear
the
you.
signal. Please bear with us. We are hoping that it goes well, but I was saying that I will tell Esther why she exudes courage later.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you. That would be interesting.
I will explain it later. Thank you so much, Mangoba. Are we fine now, Mangoba? I hope I don't butcher your names. Okay, I hope we are back and we are better. Do bear with us. I think for me, our towers are interrupted by the ongoing load shedding. So we've had internet problems for about a week now, but we will have this conversation. Awesome. So I love the meaning of your name. And like I said, I'll explain to you later why I love the meaning of your
Okay.
name. Where were you born? O tswa kae, ngwana ko Kasi? Where did you grow
Eh,
up?
born and bred in Soweto. Unfortunately, my grandmother is from Rustenburg, Kopukeng, but I don't own it as a ko gae, ko magaeng. So born and bred in Soweto, Kokasi. I have lived all my life there. And when I was in grade 10, I moved to stay with my aunt Kozola. So went from a very hectic Kasi to another. But I guess it has been the journey in Gurumilian to be the person that I am and why I'm taking ownership of being a Gasi girl. So yeah, I was born in Soweto and I was raised basically by my grandmother. Ke dula ke re ke ngwana nkgono. So that is why ha ke bua le batho I would always say dumelang bagolo, because that's what my grandmother taught me, that you greet your elders with a respect, and I've extended that to everyone and not just my elders. So yeah, my mother was existing at the time, but I was very close to my grandmother and she kind of molded the person that I am. And I always tell people, Hore, I'm a typically Kasi girl because I was raised in a 3-roomed house. And I grew up with my siblings at their house. My grandmother had to take care of 17 of her grandchildren. And through her grand pension, and life has been very interesting growing up in that 3-room house. You can imagine. She did not really have much to give us, to offer us, And whatever we had to take it. We could not complain because we understood that everything she's doing it from her heart. Our parents were there, but I guess they were also custodians of the failures of the system. And we all had to be the burden of my grandmother. Yeah, so she raised us. She could not offer us anything material, but what she offered us was love. And she made sure
It's
that
amazing.
everywhere we
Mm,
go, we just give people the love. So that's what I've
mm.
inherited from my grandmother. Yeah.
Also, a
So
very
my
big
siblings were
family.
there.
Very big family.
Sorry.
I'm saying also a very
Sorry.
big family.
Yes, it was a very big family. I always say, if when we grew up, we had resources to put an in-house camera where we just take a live video of the life, yeah, from waking up in the morning until evening, we would have made a lot of money in my house. I mean, we grew up with our elder sisters who had kids at the end of the day, our elder brothers, there was us, and then we had to grow up with our sisters' kids. So it was a mixture of generations and how we transitioned from one generation to another. It was very interesting. But the love held us on, and I always appreciate women like my grandmother because they really they really made sure that we stick together, and they fought battles that they didn't even have to beyond until their graves.
Yeah,
So I think that's one thing that I always carry because I see the thing happening everywhere all the time. And sometimes you would really get bothered for when will the system really come through for people, and when will people be delivered from all of these things that are happening. Because as I grew up, I understood Hore, it is not just that we are unfortunate as a family, but there were external forces that kind of led us to where we ended up. But yeah,
yeah.
that's why I'm here.
I always say I prefer the term people in South Africa are impoverished instead of they are poor. And
Yeah,
impoverished because, like Nelson Mandela said, poverty was man-made. It's not
yeah,
something natural that just happened. So I often like to use the word increasingly that people are impoverished, and stories like my grandmother's stories are always told in such a way that is so like it should have been that way. Women must be sacrificial, especially the matriarchs in our home. Women must give up
yeah.
everything for everyone, but we don't talk
Mm.
enough about some of the struggles that those women have had to go through and how silenced those are. And before we get into it,
Yeah.
I just want to go back and say, how was school life in that area, in that time for you? Did you enjoy being in school? What kind of kid were you? Were you the cool kid?
I was actually one of the most silent kids when I was growing up. So my uncle was not staying with us. So every time she would come around, she was like, "Ah, wakula." I'm like, no, I'm not sick. I was just so quiet. And sometimes I get so surprised, dude, why do I find myself in politics? So I grew up being a very quiet child. But school was amazing. I started school was it 93? I'm exposing my age. I started school in 93. I think 93 or 92. So my parents and I we were staying in Orange Farm. So we were in a school there. I was attending school there. So at 94 we had to leave the area because of the brutal attacks. Bo Inkatha, those battles are Inkatha in the ANC. So we had to move from that area because things were getting very heated,
Yeah,
and we moved to another area. So the whole of 94, I was not studying. I was sitting at home because I could not be absorbed by any school. And I was supposed to be doing grade 3 at that time. So 95, that's when I started to live with my grandmother full time. She decided to take me to a school in Diepkloof. The school was called Emru Chakani. When I got there, they were like, "I, Coco." we don't know you, we don't know where you're from. Asazutume ngani, so we can't take you to grade 3. Can you please go back to grade 1? And I was 9 years old at the time. So lucky for me, I was the shortest, so it did not really
Did not
expose
bother
my
you.
age.
Aww. But I'm sure
So
you were
yeah,
sad. As a
I
kid, I'm
didn't.
pretty sure you were sad.
Yeah, it was a little bit disturbing, but the nice thing is that now school was not difficult because everything I was studying, I kind of knew it, and that's why I
Mm,
became an A-class student. Koskolong. So at that time, we were doing these position things. Every time, La Pasaka, June, March, they'd always put a position for position 1 or whatever. So I'd always come position 1 for some reason. So I enjoyed school, but my primary was not too nice because had very strict teachers, which I feel I also owe them a lot for the person they have shaped me to be. Specifically, it
I
was
love
Mem
that.
Daba. Yeah, so that woman was, yeah, she was a mentor force. Like she didn't even care, but she molded a lot of us. So she made school very difficult for me because I was one of those who were loved by the teacher. So everything going wrong, what saying, Esther is the problem. I was blamed for everything. But I got to understood or maybe I was being prepared to be a leader because
Mm.
there was a time where they just came into the class, Banaba Rasa, and I'm like, Esther, why people are making noise? I'm like, I don't know. But you are the prefect of the school. I didn't even know. So it's one of those things where you just inherit leadership without even your consent. But yeah, so school was great at the time. And then when I went to a higher primary, go to Ocean, I still got improve. I started questioning a lot of things. I think my activism started to kick in. And high school was a serious battle for me, especially because the situation at my house at home was no longer suitable and things were getting worse than it should. So I just felt like, you know what, maybe I just need to drop out and go find a job because this life is not on. But God carried me through. I finished my matric, but the situation still did not allow me to do anything further. So I decided I'm not going to go to university, even though I wanted to be a lawyer. I still do. At some point, I wanted to be a sports analyst, but I thought, you know what, let me figure this whole thing out. And I started looking for a job. And eventually, I got tired of it and did some smaller learnership programs, and then that's where I came to be a student at SARA. So SARA is the South African Roadies Association, Newtown, where they taught us to do events, live events, and technical production. So you look at me like this, I'm a technician, I can get under the stage, I can connect your sound, I can do everything and can do an event from start to finish. It doesn't matter how small or big it is. So thanks to Ndate Freddy Nyatela, he has played a huge role for Black young people like myself at that time.
I love that. You're multifaceted. You're not just one thing. I love that so much. Um,
Ke monate too much.
when did you think you started seeing yourself in leadership? Um, or playing that role or seeing that role, but also just your activism. I think not even leadership per se, but when did you start, being the person who's, societally, who's aware of what's going on and who's aware that change needs to be done, and just really decided, I want to get involved in shaping the South Africa that we want. What I'm seeing here and there is not right. And how can I contribute? When did you think that woke up inside of you?
I was exposed to the creative sector at a very early age because I was working as a stage manager at some point, Kubo Market Theatre and so forth. And it was not a full-time job. It was a freelance job. They will call you if there is something. If there isn't, your life goes back to where it was. And I felt the need for us to kind of create programs where people can be empowered to employ other people. And I started looking at the schools that were closing down Kosovo. there was a lot of schools that were closing down. Can you still hear me, how?
I definitely
Um,
can.
okay, cool. My dog is trying to be dramatic. I don't know why.
My son is
Um,
also being dramatic. No, he can take
we
the
can
context
pardon him. We can
downstairs.
pardon him. We can pardon him. Jackson. I don't know what's wrong with Jackson outside, but anyway. So I started to look around and look at the schools that were so vacant and were not being used for good. So I decided to write a proposal and to see how we can turn those schools into business hubs and business parks also. And when we can take a person who owns a saloon, who's doing tailoring or whatever, put them in one class, design it according to their needs, and make sure that we empower them to hire at least a receptionist and an admin person. I did not go far because the Department of Education has its own special ways on how they can give you a vacant school to be able to rent. The activism grew from there. And I remember at that time I was recruited to form part of the governing party branch youth leadership. And I was elected as the deputy secretary of that branch leadership. And when I was there, I kind of sensed for it, as young people in that governing party, we we are not being used for our own skills, our own ideas. The direction we are given is just coming up there somewhere, and we are just told you need to do this. But in actual sense, we are not doing anything to uplift communities. With the ideas that I had, I thought that platform would be able to help me get to where I need to be and help the communities. But yeah, in between that, I was interrupted because then I started my journey my spiritual journey. So I was a full-time Christian um, for over 3 years, about 3 years. And I decided to focus on the spiritual part of myself because I kind of felt that everything that was happening, it was spiritual for me. And it helped me to get a sense of direction of where I need to go. But going around doing everything that I was doing, I got to meet a lot of incredible people who I decided to work with under an organization called Innovating Kasi Organization, which I'm still the chairperson of that organization. So it's the same people that Neki Kenale Wana School ko Sara, and we decided to bring these technical skills back to Kokas, you know, and our main mandate was to help artists because we understood what the creative sector was all about. And our mission was to help turn them into brands, but mainly position them as businesses that can be recognized, or they can be able to hire people and they can be able to be recognized as a working class, not this freelance thing. So most of the part of my life from there was to um, advocate for the regulation of artists, for that part to be regulated, where being an artist is not like a hobby, but it's a very meaningful way. And from my understanding spiritually was that artists are like the voice of God. They help us to understand the message from God that we never thought we would understand. And so they kind of use as a channel to share the message of God to the people.
And
And that is why I felt sorry.
I'm pretty sure you guys changed a lot of people's lives, eh?
We have given a lot of people information, and I believe we created a huge impact because what happened Kobo Sentin, what happened Kobo Midrand with these artist conferences and conventions, we took them straight to Kokas. Community hall, you do not have to pay for a taxi fee to go to Sambro to register your music and then move to Risa and then move to Kaikai. We made sure that we bring all those people Kokas. And that's what we've been done for a long time. And we call those sessions the music industry dinner sessions, where artists can really understand what their role are. But at the end of the day, our mandate was to help them, to help us as South Africans to design the identity of this country. And I can tell you a little bit of what we meant by that is because we knew gore ka 76 there was young people who were playing a certain role to help fight for the freedom of this country, the 76 generation. And after the 76, there was Baba the 80s. And then 94 was a very crucial year for us as South Africans, because if you can remember, South Africa was known as an oppressed country apartheid and whatnot. But if you can look at it in this lens, the Kwaito guys came and gave South Africa a certain identity. And that's why you could get songs like Bo Don't Call Me Kafir, because people were now understanding what it means to be free and understood how to utilize their freedom of speech. And a lot of revolution came out of that. And I can tell you a short story quickly about how even the street bashes were created. So
I wanted
in the
this space, this is your time. Tell your story.
Okay, cool. So if you remember before 194, there was these rules that after 4, they don't want kids on the street. People were not free to move however they need to move. The Kwaito generation came and said, because this is now a democratic country, we are free. We are going to close the streets and dance the whole night and enjoy our freedom and express ourselves as this generation. They were very young at that time. Now they are meets. So that the concept of street bashes came from there. But as generations come and go, some things become diluted. But that was a revolution. It gave people a sense of power, or I can be go starting at 8 p.m. and this is my country. I am allowed and I'm free to do it. So they have played a certain role in creating the identity of this country, but we needed to have a good and strong follow-up of what does that mean to us and how do we own it. And you found people like Bomandoza who would do Bonkalagata song, and a white person can sing that song. Even Chinese can sing the song, because it's the universal language of love that we needed at that time. So that was my basic advocacy. But unfortunately, when running an NPO, you can't in a community, you can't focus on one thing. We would be doing our own business, pushing artists and doing whatever, and then people will come and knock at our doors and say, my mother passed away, we don't know how to bury her, we don't have the funds.
I was going to ask you that, to say that I think firstly it's how you've brought forward music as not just something for joy and entertainment, but also as a form of revolution, as a form of protest, but as also a form of declaration of freedom, right? Because music can be so multifaceted, right? And one song can mean one thing to you and another to me and another to another, right? That's what's amazing about music. But I wanted to say that I know the Kasi organization then branched. What happened? I think you are about to get into the needs that came out of that, because then you had two umbrella organizations that came out of that. What happened there?
Okay, so we had people coming and ask for different needs. But let me just share a story about the 4 young girls my colleagues Bomtolisi found at a street corner around 9 p.m. And they just had a camera and they started asking them, can we interview you guys? And they said, yeah. I'm sure the youngest was 14 and was 12, sorry. And they started asking, what are you doing at a street corner this night? Where are your parents? Are they not concerned that you are in Momostrate? And so I'm like, we are just here to look for boys. Some said, my mother is not even at home. They had different views of why it didn't matter for them, that no one cared that they were not there, or they were here or not there. And this started bothering my colleagues, and they said, okay, because we are dealing with artists, let's just do a small group of what do you like to do? The other said, I want to dance. The other said, I like to sing, act, and whatever. So they started scheduling them in a week to say, okay, come at our office, start dancing and do this. And they started to do that. And we also had an LO element of it, where we just talk about life general to help mold them and understand how how it is important for them to really position themselves in their future. And it started with one child who said, okay, so Mina, when I go home, I don't have food. My grandfather locks up food, go kamureng. And so my grandmother and myself, we always sleep hungry. So my colleagues decided, okay, we'll cook. This week will be this person, the other week will be the other one. But the need grew how to a point where we feeded 150 families.
Sure.
We had to
Is this in
go to
one? Is this in one area?
so it's Diepkloof, Orlando, Kliptown, so generally almost the whole of Soweto, Meadowlands, and so forth. So we had to feed those people, and
And
we
if
got
I may ask, where were I was getting there. Where were you getting the funding to do this?
so we would get sponsorships from some garage owners. Sometimes is those the big retailers would say every Thursday come and take some rolls and whatever. And so that's how we would manage to do it. But the rest of it we had to work on from our own pockets and make sure that at least we are able to deliver the food to these families, because what we did not want was to put people in queues and give them packages, because we felt that dented their dignity. And I mean, it's not easy enough for you to be going and begging for food. So why must you now go and fetch it and all that? And some didn't even have the means to come to the office to fetch the food. So we had to find means and ways on how to deliver those food and package them very nicely so that even your neighbor does not see that, you know. But we called that program the icebreaker, because when we got into these families, there was nothing you could say to these people that they would hear, because they were so destitute, they were so hungry. So we thought, let's give them food, give them some sort of reliance to us to say, okay, we can minus one problem, and then we start to come up with ways on how we empower the young people we find in these houses. How do we provide therapy sessions for our elders? Because as I've shared my story about my grandmother, that thing is still happening everywhere. Our elders do not have a single break to just take their retirement and enjoy their pension. They are taking care of our sisters' kids. They are taking care of us. They are stressing that we're going to universities, we're coming back, we're not working. So the burden is still too much for them. So sometimes we
Yeah.
had to do some programs where we would say, today we are celebrating Baholo. Come wear your nice clothes. You know, they have these beautiful, nice heels and dresses in their wardrobes, and they are not wearing them to go anywhere because they're just stuck. So we say, Tinta, that dress, that heel, come look nice, mkulu, wear your best suit, wear your anything. We then do a gala dinner for them and say, we are celebrating you. And you know, we went to even an extent where we would cook, be nice food for them, buy whatever that to make them happy, because some do consume these beverages. So we did not want to deprive them, but we were just wanting to say to them, we
Oh,
appreciate you.
boy.
And we would not be here if it was not for you. And it is still very unfair how that they still have to do this now, after where their country has come from. I mean, they have experienced the trauma of apartheid. They have been through a lot for them to be where they are still today, and fighting battles to make sure that our lives are in order. So that's one disturbing thing. But just to quickly maybe answer your two questions. So IKO then started giving out food parcels. We reached out to did a lot of community projects where would help people cover the first aid course and just to boost their CVs. And we would then refer them to leadership programs, computer, whatever. But there was a year where we had a very serious case of GBV, and it was the year where Karabo Mukwena passed away. And there was a lot of these young women who passed away. And we then decided, the way we would like to celebrate our June 16, let's make it different. And we called that campaign the Rise Up campaign, funny enough. It had the up, it did not have the Mzansi. So we did the Rise Up campaign. It was early in the morning. I think. Can you hear me now, How? I thought you broke a little bit.
I can hear you the whole time. It's just my picture
Okay.
goes away because of the signal.
Oh, okay, sure. All right. Um, so yeah, we hosted that campaign. So we did it early in the morning on a Monday morning, where we're saying, let's come and have a dialogue about GBV. And let's really talk as community members. What is the problem? The hall takes a capacity of 700 people. And in the morning of a Monday, it was fully packed because people were really bothered by this thing. And we had the late Mom Angie as part of our panelists. And one of our good friend said to Mom Angie, so it's a dialogue, we're just talking women issues and everything. And this lady said to Mama Angie, can you just pretend to be my mother for a second? I want to give her the peace of my mind. And Mom Angie said, shoot. Mom Angie said, shoot. And the things that came out of that woman's mouth was heartbreaking. It showed like she didn't have a relationship with her mother. Her mother left her at a very, 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 very young age. She was raised by her grandmother, and the pain is still there. That what is wrong with her that her mother did not feel the need to raise her or be part of her life. And that program turned everything around. That whole incident turned everything around. And that's when the program called the Mother and Daughter Bond was born, where it was a very spiritual a call as well, that where we really figured out, hooray, there's a serious brokenness between a mother and a daughter relationship. And in this country, we cannot continue to afford to have broken and wounded women and expect to have a normal nation, expect to have a community that is normal. The mothers play a huge role.
There was
They
a
play a
lot.
huge role. Yeah. Sorry, you can get in.
No worries. You can. Can you hear me? Are you struggling to hear me?
I can. So
I have
we
so
then
many
realized.
questions.
Okay, so let me just finish off with the mother and
I'm gonna
daughter.
stop you here.
Yeah, I can. So we then developed a program called Mother and Daughter Bond to help break the generational chain. I don't want to call it curses because we realize that there's a build up of how. Okay, let me just continue. Yeah, let me just continue. I hope you can hear me.
Oh no, let's not put
Can you
questions
hear me
up.
now? Can you hear me now?
You're back. Am I back? I'm so patient. I
No,
hope
you
everybody
were
else.
gone.
I hope
We
everybody else is.
apologize to you.
We are pushing
We
through load
apologize.
shedding. I want to
Yes,
stop you
please.
here and say I want to now delve into what happened, and then you decided when you join a political party, you're joining a party. Rise, I mean, the bravery. Where did that all come from?
So there's a little disclaimer I must make. RISE Mzansi is not my first party. After 2019, no, was it 2017? I decided to create my own because I was fed up and felt that we can do so much as civil society organizers, but with social power, we cannot go anywhere or any further. And I just gave myself that huge task and brought in a group of people. We started a political party. In 2019, I voted for myself, but it did not go very well. My spirit did not die though, but I was not really intending to go back to a political party anymore because, sorry.
I'm saying, do you remember the exact moment? Who was the first person you're told that you're doing this?
I don't remember exactly. It
And
took
what
me
was
a
it
year to
for?
it took me a year to decide. So I had numerous conversations, and I knew that starting a political party will alienate me from the opportunities, because I think that's what a lot of people are afraid of. But as I was saying, it did not go any further because we ended up having different ideas, and I resigned 2 weeks before the elections. And I decided to continue to do the work of my community and all that, but I realized that we are not going anywhere. I was in a space where I was connected to young people for a very long time. And we even started a program called Generation I'm Woke that provoked me so much. And I realized that actually young people are not used for anything in this country. And we have so much fire within us, and it's going all over the place. It does not have a space where it can be channeled. And we needed to do something. But the main reason why we started Generation I'm Woke was that we felt that we are competing with existing establishments, and maybe even the piece of our pie is not even there. So maybe we need to start look into how we create our own economy and seriously become active participants in building one. And that was the moment in 2020 when COVID came, and it really showed us that without an income in this country, you are as good as dead, because people had to be locked into their homes waiting for government to bring food parcels, and that did not happen. People had to follow regulations that were seriously against their human rights just because, um, I don't know, we have to, I'm losing this term, mara
Yeah,
tshwantse re latele molao. But
without
the
questioning.
yeah, so it was not really thought through, and that has that kind of revealed that this is the kind of life we have been living for a long time, and people's needs and people's understanding about people's needs, or I don't know how to put that. Nobody cares. Like we are being governed by elites who, at the end of the day, went to social media, took videos of alcohol and everything, and you putting videos of alcohol on social media. People don't have food. People don't have water. They've never had water from '94, and you are saying for us to take care of ourselves and be precautious, we need to wash our hands 35 times a day. So that was a
Yet,
serious breaking moment for me.
mm.
And
And
it
then
showed
Rise
me
came. How did Rise come into your life?
so so Rise came. So Rise came through our sister organization, Rivonia Circle. And I was introduced to the team. So I was part of the entity before, then I moved to Rise because there was a lot of organizing that needed to happen. And as one of the people who have been organizing for a long time in my communities, I felt, or the team felt fit to, I need to form part to assist. But
Yeah.
personally, for me, it was a very difficult decision to make, especially because I was there before and I got banned. And there's no difficult thing in this country to convince people to vote for you,
Yeah.
because people are so used to have normalized these distractions so much that every abnormal thing is normal. And no matter how hard you try to fight to say, guys, this is not it, it's difficult to get through a lot of our people. And I understand, we are a very traumatized nation. Is things coming up on top of the other, and we have not even dealt with what happened to apartheid. And life just continues as normal. COVID was a trauma to a lot of people. People lost more than 2, 3, 4, 5 members of their families, and no one is saying anything about it. The looting happened. It was like the end of the world when that thing happened in July, and still nobody said anything about it. People lost jobs. People lose jobs every day, and young women in their own marriages are not even trained on how they need to handle a man who's being retrenched. How do you live a life after the income you were depending on is gone? Where do you
Yeah.
go? So there's a
Mm.
whole lot of hopelessness in this country. And as our leader says, Songens of Are, we are the most foolish people, go RISE Mzansi, to fight so much to inherit a crisis. But maybe it is our time, and that's one thing that convinced me to say maybe this is a platform for me to really make sure that the norms of destruction are being fought against. We like everything
Yeah.
is abnormal that's happening. Everything, like not even a
So
single
I
thing is normal.
asked this to Faiza. Are you scared in any way of being not only being in a political party, but I think being in a political party that's growing so quickly at such a like in such a short space of time? But we also know the politics of this country are very much contested. Do you ever sometimes want to pinch yourself and say, "Oh my gosh, what am I doing?" Do you ever have that? "Ooh, wow." Are you nervous? Are you scared at all as well? Is there fear?
To be honest, I think I have been living this life for a while. Right now, I'm doing the things that I have been doing through a political vehicle. So the only worry, nje, ko gore, I wish people can understand that we want to bring in alternative. The only time I want to pinch myself is when I see the RISE volunteers work unprovoked to make sure that we build the South Africa we deserve. That is the most overwhelming part of this whole RISE thing. You know, having someone work so much with the little resources they have to pursue a dream that started from somewhere. And I'm not saying it started from somewhere because it's not for all of us, but it's for all of us, but it starts somewhere. And
And I mean,
today is our
yeah,
so today is our 1 year anniversary as RISE Mzansi. Last year, this time, or this day, 26 November, we launched our RISE Mzansi campaign, where people said, we are ready for a government of the people, by the people. So it is amazing that the same people who were there that day, on the 26th of November last year, are still here with us today and bringing more on board. So for me, that's the most humbling part. And I can give everything I have for that, because the hearts and souls and minds of people on the ground just blow me away. And I
you
cannot
talked
appreciate or thank them enough.
and you talked about the alternative, and I think it's important for people to hear what the alternative in RISE. How would you describe this alternative in your own words and in your own worldview?
So the alternative means that we no longer have an excuse not to fight for this country, number one. People have not been voting, people have not been participating because maybe most of them did not understand our electoral processes. And sadly, most of them don't understand our democracy, how it works. So we can't blame it all on the people. But those who understand and who have not been voting because they did not like what they see, the traditional parties, how they treat people, how they treat this whole system, it's all about them. RISE decided, let's do things differently. And I always tell people that we, as the NLC members, people must look at us as the coordinators of this vehicle. we have created a political vehicle to support the social power that's on the ground to get to the ballot paper. So this vehicle is calling on everyone who's saying, I'm ready to lead, I'm ready to bring my ideas, and I have solutions to fix my community. So this is a vehicle for you to take you to the ballot paper, because we can fight how as much as we want. We can bend tires as much as we want. We can say tomorrow we don't want President X, Y, Z. But saying it out of the electoral processes does not take us anywhere. So this is the alternative, is saying we are a party of ordinary South Africans, not a breakaway from what, and then you start a party, you already have 100 branches on the ground. We are not that party. We started everything from scratch as ordinary South Africans, to say, let's do it for ourselves. We can complain to each other. We can say we don't like our status quo, the state of our family, state of our communities. And if we are folding our arms and not doing anything, it's not going to change. And I just want to caution our risers to say, we must always bear in mind that if we do not use this vehicle, we are going to have to endure the extra coming 5 years under this mess. And I don't think people want to be there.
I love the signal is doing weird things again, but you're back. Am I back?
Yes, you are.
I love that.
Yes, you
And
are.
I wanted to find out, how has it been like coordinating and leading? I love that you said we are coordinators. What has it been like in the last 7 to 8 months coordinating in a space with different people from different ideological backgrounds, different cultures, different viewpoints, different ages? Has that changed anything in you as a person in the last 7 months? How have those dynamics built you or grew you? What impact has it had on you working in this space for the last 7 to 8 months?
Okay, so immediately after we launched RISE on the 19th of April, we had to start the groundwork. And my team and I went to 4 different areas: the Eastern Cape, the Western Cape, KZN, and the other area in the Eastern Cape, which is in Mthatha. You know, people received us very well. And I can say that for a fact because the leaders of RISE were there. Number one, it's people they know and people they relate to. It's not foreign people coming from nowhere to say, this is what you think you need to do to solve your problems. And I think the concept that was powerful that helped us to break through communities is the listening session process. But it was not easy. I used to say, after all these listening sessions, we must go to therapy, comrades, because this thing is too much. But we listened to a lot of people. And I could tell you for the first moment that we have already inherited the problems of political parties that are existing just by saying we are a party. So those were the dynamics. But people have warmed up very quickly to the idea because it's genuine, it speaks to them, and we are saying to people, we just want to give you your power back. We are like you. You can't point fingers at us. We can't point fingers at you. We all need to come together and say, how do we fix this? So people are willing, but not all of them are willing, because a lot of our people are still stuck in saying, what are you going to do for me? What are you going to give me? What is your solution for this? And those are the unfortunate ways that the traditional parties have been doing things, promising people a lot of things. And as you know, how that we've always said to people, we are not here to promise you a thing. We are saying we are here to work with you together. So it's easy for the others to absorb that. Some, it was very difficult. But I can tell you for a fact that people warmed up to RISE, And when you talk to them one-on-one, it made even life easier for them. And after the session ends, it's the first time you meet these people. And after the session ends, says, yeah, so we as RISE, we are going to, and you're like, done. As long as they say we are going somewhere. So it has been a very amazing journey. And even though some stories are very sad, one of our leaders likes to say, people are fighting for load shedding. And it's a privileged struggle because some haven't had electricity since 94. So those are the things that you also need to look into. And maybe that is why we also came up with the concept of the People's Manifesto, because it's easy for them to tell us what they want, unlike us just think from the top of our minds what we think they need. So it has been a very amazing journey, and I enjoy myself to the fullest when I'm on the ground, because that's
I
where I
know
get to connect with people.
you want to connect with that was works for you, and I love that you brought up the load shedding thing and the privilege thing, because my next question was going to be, how do you respond to people who say that RISE Mzansi it's an elite organization that was built in Sandton or in Fourways? Yes, our offices are in Rosebank, but as someone who has your own background, how do you often respond to that kind of response that no, but RISE is an elite party built in Sandton?
So I know I don't usually get to talk about my background, but I'm happy that today I'm having the session so that people can really see that it's not an elite party. We are not all academics. Yeah, we are not all. It's the people of the people. It's a party of the people. Sorry, and it's a very inclusive. And my mission and RISE as part of the NLC is just to go back to those committees and say there is space for you, RISE. Go back to rural areas and township and say, if there was space for me, there is definitely space for you. So we are grounded. We are on the ground every day. We know and understand the issues of people and what they need from us and how they would want us to intervene in the solutions they are coming to solve their communities. And the background that I've already given you how about all the programs I did in my organization is the same thing I'm doing. That is why the constituency that I'm going to be focusing on is women, communities, CBOs, and faith-based organizations. And I keep working faith-based organizations. I'm also including traditional healers because I was raised by one. And I understand their issues. And in most cases, it's people that we end up forgetting. So my mission is to go dig every corner and pull everyone and say, it is our time. 2024 must definitely be the year where we will put our mark.
I love that. Mandla is, I keep putting up people's comments, but Mandla says, hi, Esther, I'm watching from the club, and the interview is very insightful. I love that because I think what I love about RISE, I've been at RISE under operations, and it's been about 2 months of my time. It feels so long. And I think for me, it's 2 months. It feels like it's been so long.
Are you sure? You are not here last year.
No. And I think in the 2 months I've been here, but also observing before I came in, what I really resonated with was we've been socialized to believe that the political system and the way in which the people who govern and end up leading the country from a state level are only for a certain group of people. That all we do as South Africans is to sit back. So I hope my son is not disturbing. I think he's making himself something to eat. That terrain is not for us. And I think the beautiful thing that I find in RISE, and powerful, not just beautiful, is the idea that everybody can be part and parcel of the political system. And this is our country and it belongs to us. And we can get as involved. We don't have to sit back and wait for somebody to come. We don't have to sit back and just say, oh, but this party and that party. And, what RISE is saying is that come. And I wanted to say, when you spoke about faith leaders, that this coming week, we will actually be dropping some content from those leaders who have come into RISE and are
Yes.
building us. I'm so excited for those leaders
Yes.
to also be recognized, and loving the work that you do and how you're easily so adaptable to people. You're a people's person, Esther. And I think for me, that's been one of the most beautiful things and inspiring things that I've ever had to watch from you. It's that people's person thing, and that the ability to just, resonate with the people. Tebogo, who's the Gauteng convener at RISE, is also watching. He says Esther is a number one Coco. Yeah, I said to her that when we start the live, I'm gonna start it with Jovicho, Esther Jovicho. Watch her change this country. She inspires me. Her authentic connection to people and courage is phenomenal. We rise for and with Esther Padi. And I think my question, we're about the end, guys. So we're about to get to the end. So you can send in your questions, send in your comments,
Yeah.
Also, our leaders really, and our coordinators, as Esther said it, really need to know that they have people behind them, because I think you guys experience so much scrutiny, you guys experience so much criticism, and I think there is a need for you guys to get that encouragement from us. um and I wanted to ask you, what is the magic, for all the risers listening, and those who want to take from you and want to, to learn from you? What is the magic in connecting with people? What is where How do you do it? How do you humble yourself to be able to connect with people at their level, and they be able to be part of the same mission as you? Like, you do it so effortlessly. I know it's hard.
I don't know. How I honestly don't know. Maybe it's one of those hidden gifts that God blesses us with, and also how you spiritually own up to a certain calling. I wouldn't say there's a formula of how you connect to people. I sometimes don't even know if people have connected with me, or I don't know. I hear you guys when you say it. But for now, I think the respect of just respecting people comes a long way. And I always say to my NLC leaders that we are in a country where a lot of people on the ground have been abused by these traditional political parties. They are only called when they need to do certain things. Young people are always called to mobilize people, go to the marches, and fight battles they don't even understand. So we cannot be that party for the people. Our mission must always be to restore hope and faith back into the democratic process, and also make politics also nice. That's why we are organizing around joy, we are organizing around care. People want to know that you care about them. They want to know that you are listening. I receive so many calls in a week. Sometimes a day I would receive 3, 5 calls. And sometimes people will say, "No, leader, I got your number from leader Smang Mang." And people will just tell me, this happened, all their issues. And I would listen for hours on my phone just to listen. So what I have told myself is that I need to be a leader that is available, a leader that is present. Because you cannot say you are leading people and utzamela kwa komoyeng. There's this experience we are having generally as South Africans, that our leadership is not rooted on the ground. So
Yeah.
if we are saying we are doing our politics the new way, the different way, let's allow people to have access to us anytime they need to.
Yeah.
So those are just small things where even people do a small thing and say, "Leader, come. I've organized people. I want you to activate them," because at some point I was doing activations. Sometimes you would get there how and there's 7 people. You can't say, "Hi, 7 people." You need to sit down,
You need a crowd
activate.
because I'm important. It's about letting go of the
Right.
ego. The
No.
ego. Dimple
So
asks,
yeah,
yeah. Dimple asks, what advice do you have for other township and rural raised girls and women who don't always feel like they belong in leadership spaces?
I think there's a lot of Esthers out there with similar and different stories. And we need to really now putting the dysfunctional system of this country and put face in in that thing. If I did not tell my story, people would not know that there's possibilities that they can do something about it. We cannot have women on the sidelines anymore. Let me not get to my politics. I might get into trouble, but let me just say, there are no great organizers in this country than women. And you must never undermine it. It started in 1956, where 20,000 women organized themselves. Winnie Mandela, and we went and we went. Women are great organizers. If you can go to our communities, how you will see that a lot of community-based organizations are led and run by women out of nothing. They're not getting paid for it, but they're just doing it because there is a sense that our country needs to be nurtured. The state we are in is not on. So I would encourage every young girl to find it in themselves to say, if not you, who must?
Yeah.
The system
Belong in
the
those. I don't know if you agree with my politics of disruption, because we do have situations where sex for jobs, where women are sexualized in spaces, especially political and leadership spaces, where women are asked, if you don't give me this, you don't get that. And those types of environments are very difficult to navigate. And I think a lot of South African women have that experience. I mean, I have that experience, and I know a lot of my peers have that experience. And it really diminishes your courage to rise above, and I think what you just said is so powerful. But I also am part of the politics of disruption. Like, we must disrupt spaces that are not safe for us.
We must. I mean, the time our previous or current leaders in these big organizations have shown and demonstrated over and over that they come together as a collective of women and support men to be in positions. We can't do that. We need to encourage and kind of make it a lively thing that South Africa needs a female president at some point. And it must not be a wow. It must not be a scary thing. This country needs, this country needs a female touch, it needs that. So, Abafet, we need to step up.
It was built on the backs of women, this country.
It does.
Mtsebisi says, "Hi, Esther. I'm watching from Deep Blue, and we really appreciate the contribution you made in this community. Indeed, our 2024 is our 1994 RISE Mzansi. Thank you, everybody. Tebogo says, Bua, when you were talking about women. I think there was a question above that I don't want to let go before we end, because I have one last question as well from my side. Tracy asked, how keen is RISE Mzansi to relook at copyright laws and to push South African dominated content mandates like 100% on SABC channels? I think she asked that question really early on when we were talking about music and rights. I don't know if you want to take a stab at it or raise your views, because this is the platform.
Yeah, so what's happening with the creative sector generally in this country is that the regulation is very slow. And for the fact that artists don't even know how much they need to earn per play on radio as they are barricading royalties, it doesn't make sense. And for a long time, it has been a big scam from where I'm sitting. And being in this system, being in this industry, I got to understand that a lot of the industries in this creative sector have been empowering themselves through the money of the artists. So as RISE Mzansi, we must seriously talk about regulating this industry. Number one, how they are not getting they are not permanently employed. So they are not recognized by the Labor Department. They can't get UIF. So majority of them are staying in rented houses and they can't even afford to buy a house via bond. And we then get surprised why our artists die poor. So that's one thing IK was trying to solve for, so that we can make sure that at least we avoid to see our legends and artists dying poor, because after one song, it was a hit, and what happens to you after that? So there's serious work that needs to be done in the creative sector, and SABC must really play a crucial role, because at the end of the day, they are the ones taking out our money in dollars, taking it overseas to pay for royalties for artists overseas, whilst we at some point were fighting for 90% local content, because we understood that if that was regulated, our artists would be getting to play their music and shows on TV, a lot for them to benefit and also provide jobs for other people. So there's so much money in the creative sector, and I think it needs to be channeled properly so that our people can enjoy a dignified life as artists in this country.
I love that. Mokhadi's question is very long. It hides our faces. So I'm just going to read it. She says, Hello,
Okay.
Esther. Hello, Khao. One thing that is very clear is that Esther Padi is going to Parliament to represent all of us because she is who we've been waiting for. Her resilience and love is what is keeping our movement alive. Her and others, me, you, and all of us have a bigger responsibility that surpasses our understanding. And Esther understands that mandate. We rise together. And I think coming from that comment, I want to close this session by asking, who takes care of you? How do you take care of yourself? Because our mental health is so important. We're in the politics of care. You do so much for so many people and for this movement. Who takes care of you and how can we support you better?
Sure, I keep baby Kelwa a lot of people, hey? Even though I try to behave as a strong woman and a wabona, but a lot of people take care of me. I have my two sisters. My family takes a lot of care, and they try to be there everywhere. They are all risers anyway. The Pali family, all risers. So don't make a mistake. But I have people in my life that are very close to my heart. They make sure that I push this mission, and I'm not just pushing it for myself anymore. I'm also doing it for them. And I appreciate as well the RISE Mzansi team. You guys, Fit, we are blessed to have you guys as a team. You take care of us. I bother a lot of people, but they don't complain. They just say, tell us what you need us to do, and we do it. And big ups to our staff. You are the engine of this movement. If RISE had a secretary, you would be the secretariat of this movement, including yourself, how. So sometimes I see you sharing your metrics. I'm like, when did she do it? Where does she get the time? But your work is highly appreciated, and yeah, I try
Oh,
my best, but most of the time I try to sleep as much as I can because my mind is always working.
what are you currently listening to that we can vibe with? What are you currently pumping to?
Hey, I have fallen in love with this Amanda live barking live good good life or something. It's a live performance. Yeah, JR. Yeah,
Ah,
JR. So I went into it, and the year 2016, I was so embarrassed, but
ropelle,
I fell
ropelle.
in.
Aru.
Amanda Black. I can't sing. I can only try to remember the Guijo songs. So I would hook you up with one song. But there is a very powerful song that's touching my spirit here, Amanda Black, called Sizophumelela.
Hmm.
It says naba besiza ngezibhamu but thina siyaphambili sizophumelela, and our gods and ancestors are looking, and we will definitely succeed. So this is the message I want to give to all risers, that see pet riding bafethu, we don't have to doubt ourselves. Siyabangena. Our choice.
Love to see it. Thank you so much, Esther, for giving us your time. I
Thank you so
know
much.
we don't stop, right? Every week we're going. Like there's no stopping, because I think what motivates me is seeing what you guys do, but also understanding that this is for South Africa and South Africa
Yes.
needs it. And thank you for your time. And I would like to encourage everybody who's listening. We do still have a candidates nomination process that's still open until the 15th of December. You can go nominate the person you know in your community to represent you in the provincial legislatures or in parliament. Some acceptance letters are coming through. Some people are being told they are nominated. And really, this is the call to say we are all rising. And the
Yeah.
fact that, you know the people who have the same qualities, similar qualities as Esther, who love South Africa. That's number one. Who want this country to work, and who are willing to do the work. not cater deployments or things like that. And
Eh,
yeah, go nominate. This is a family. Come join the family. Nominate those people. Nominate. Apply yourself. And
sure.
let's change this country. Any last words, Esther, before we end the live?
My last famous words is that let us refuse as this generation to raise the coming to raise our kids the way our parents raised us. Their circumstances were different. We awoke, we seeing the light, and we have an alternative. Let's take it by both hands. Go out, register for those who have not registered, go and vote, tell someone to vote, because you understand that South Africa needs a restart. South Africa needs to be designed as new. The time here Moses is over, comrades. Moses delivered us from Egypt, from apartheid. Now we are looking for Joshua. Joshua is here, is an alternative. Joshua must be empowered to take us to the land of milk and honey and have a South Africa where people will enjoy 3 meals a day without their employment status. So that's my words. Let's refuse. Let this generation fight for the betterment of this country. And let's enjoy it while we do it to help turn a South Africa we want and to be a South Africa that we all deserve. Ngiyabonga baferi.
Thank you so much. Tebogo says we are the Joshua generation. How we weighing? How we
Yes,
weighing? Thank you so much,
I'm
guys.
way.
Thank you for
Thank you
those.
so much, Pao.
It's a pleasure. I told you, I'm so honored. I was so excited. And it's everything that I thought it would be. I had so much fun. Thank you so much. And thank
Thank
you
you
guys
so
for watching.
much.
We are back again next Sunday, talking more to our leaders, talking more to the RISE people. Please do, send us a shout out online. Check out the content that's coming out this week. Like I said, it doesn't stop. We keep going, and we keep taking care of ourselves as we do it. Good night, everybody. Take care of yourself. Take care of your heart.
Thank you.